You know that moment? You've definitely felt it. That exact second when a piece of music does something that, honestly, logic just can't explain. Your chest tightens up, maybe your eyes well up with tears. In this explainer, we're diving into the absolute cinematic wonder of how our brains process music.
It's a profound mystery, really. A melody you have literally never heard before can make you feel, inexplicably, as though you're grieving something you never even lost. And for decades, neuroscientists have been obsessing over this. I mean, why does a sequence of airborne vibrations, something completely invisible, weightless, and gone the exact moment it arrives, have the power to reach deep inside a human being and just rearrange their emotions?
Now, scientists actually have a name for this physiological response. They call it the chills. Musicians, well, they just call it the whole point of playing. But as it turns out, the true origin of this phenomenon doesn't happen in our ears at all. It happens deep inside the brain. Okay, let's dive into this. Part 1, expectation, tension, and dopamine.
Here's what's actually happening. When sound hits your auditory cortex, your brain doesn't just passively decode it. It eagerly anticipates it. It maps out the pattern and practically leans forward, waiting. Now, when a melody resolves exactly how we expect it to, our brain rewards us. But when a composer defies that expectation, when a chord shifts in a way we didn't see coming, the brain hesitates. It recalibrates. And in that beautiful fraction of a second of uncertainty, our emotional response intensifies dramatically.
Which leads to a quiet flood of dopamine. It's highly counterintuitive, but this is exactly why the most arresting, emotionally powerful music is often the kind that almost disappoints you before it finally resolves. The delay isn't a mistake. The delay is the entire point. Tension is quite literally music's primary language.
And incidentally, this mechanism perfectly explains why musical taste is so incredibly personal. Your brain builds its expectations based on literally everything it has ever heard. So a listener raised on Western classical music carries a completely different internal map than someone shaped by Arabic maqam scales or the intricate microtonal inflections of Indian ragas. Basically, when we say a piece of music deeply moves us, what we're really saying is, this perfectly fits the shape of everything I already am.
Which brings us to part 2. Total brain activation.
Now, what's really interesting about this data is that music is doing way more than just handing out dopamine. When researchers look at functional MRI scans, what they observe is just unprecedented. Listening to music activates the auditory cortex for sound, the motor system for rhythm, the limbic region which governs our emotions, and the prefrontal cortex for complex thought. And it does all of this simultaneously.
Think about that for a second. Absolutely no other stimulus produces this level of whole brain engagement. Not spoken language, not looking at visual art, not even eating your favorite food triggers this unique level of total cognitive takeover.
So let's look at part 3, music as a restore button.
The reason this whole brain network is so compelling is because of the hippocampus, our memory center, which wires directly into our musical processing network. It's the reason why a song you loved when you were 18 can suddenly transport you with almost terrifying precision back to one specific afternoon. You remember the exact quality of the light, the temperature of the air, that specific ache of being young and uncertain. The music doesn't just remind you of the past, it reinstates it. You get to briefly inhabit that exact moment all over again.
Because of this profound connection, music has become one of the most powerful tools we have in neurological medicine. We see patients with severe Alzheimer's disease, people who have lost the ability to even recognize their own family members, respond to familiar songs from their youth with this immediate, vivid recall. It seems that musical memory is stored differently than our regular episodic memory, and it's among the very last things to erode. The late neurologist Oliver Sacks devoted much of his career to studying this. He famously described music as a sort of restore button for the self, noting it was actually capable of temporarily reconstituting a personality that dementia had otherwise completely dismantled.
Let's zoom out a bit for part 4, the evolutionary origins of music. From an evolutionary standpoint, the ultimate existential mystery isn't why music triggers memory, it's why it triggers any emotion at all, right? I mean, a song doesn't pose a physical threat, and it certainly offers no nutritional value. Yet this emotional response seems to be completely innate to us. Even newborn infants show measurable physiological responses to harmony and tension, consonance and dissonance, long before they've had any cultural exposure whatsoever. It absolutely proves that something in the architecture of the human nervous system is already listening from day one.
And this brilliantly illustrates a really compelling theory that music acts as a sort of emotional language by mimicking human prosody. Prosody is basically the rises, the falls, the little accelerations, silences, and subtle modulations that carry all the emotional weight when we speak. Our brains might actually be scanning a piece of music in the exact same way we unconsciously scan a person's voice for joy or urgency or calm. Music might just be a fundamental emotional language that predates spoken words entirely.
We usually say that the brain processes music, but honestly, in a very real sense, music processes us. It sorts through all of our tangled memories, our deeply held fears, our longings, and our joy, and it returns them to us, just for a moment, in a beautifully structured form that we can actually bear.
So I think this completely reframes the whole conversation. Maybe we shouldn't be asking why music moves us. Maybe the better question is, what kind of creatures are we? What kind of species evolves a nervous system so exquisitely tuned to the shape of sound that a total stranger's composition, played in a room we have never even visited, can somehow make us feel just a little bit less alone?